Hakeem Olajuwon is, in my opinion, a top 10 player of all time, arguably the greatest defender we've ever seen. But at the same time, a lot of NBA fans don't know that much about his NBA career. Sure, everybody knows that he had two legendary playoff runs in 1994 and 1995, where he led the Rockets to back-to-back championships. Some others also know about 1986, a very young Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson surprisingly led the Rockets to the finals, defeating the heavily favored Lakers along the way, but eventually falling to Boston. Those 2 or 3 seasons are pretty much what everyone knows about Hakeem. Nowadays, his highlights from 1994 and 95 have become famous. They're all over YouTube, and his dream shake on Robinson is probably the first thing that comes to everybody's mind. But how come nobody talks about the years before that? Very few fans know about what happened with Hakeem between 1986 and 1994. I've never seen anyone talk about what happened in those years in between, but that's gonna be the focus of this video. How's it going, fellas? My name's Andy, and today we're gonna take a look at Hakeem's career between 1986 and 1994. What was going on with him and the Houston Rockets, and how come he wasn't able to find that same success? So to start things off, let's go all the way back to 1986. A young Rockets team led by Hakeem and Ralph Sampson made the finals and put up a great fight before losing. Along the way, Hakeem destroyed the Showtime Lakers in the conference finals, putting up averages of 31 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 blocks per game. This was the series where Hakeem really broke out. Everyone knew he had insane potential, but just how high was that potential? His all-time great performance against the Lakers really showed everyone how good he really was. After falling to the Celtics in a tough 6-game series, the Rockets were expected to be the team of the future. Their twin towers were 23 and 25 years old respectively, and they could only get better from here on out. Unfortunately, this team would become the dynasty that never was. The following season brought about a couple of different issues. First, Sampson started to get injured and he missed half the season because of knee problems. This would be the beginning of the end for his NBA career, as he would get traded the following season cause after all the injuries he was never the same player again. Secondly, they ran into some drug problems. Lewis Lloyd was the Rockets' starting shooting guard and he got banned for drug use. Mitchell Wiggins was their backup shooting guard and he also got banned for drug use. Oh, and he's also Andrew Wiggins' father. Eventually, Wiggins and Lloyd would return to the NBA by 1990, but they were older and not good anymore. So, with Sampson's injuries and their players getting banned, the next few seasons were disappointing. From 1987 to 1992, the Rockets lost in the first round 4 different times, lost in the second round once, and missed the playoffs entirely in 1992. Additionally, Hakeem himself also had some problems with himself and with his team. Earlier in his career, before he changed his name and converted to Islam, he was kind of a hothead. He had a short temper, he got into a lot of fights, and he was always near the top of the league in technical fouls. He was also really upset with his teammates because, frankly, they weren't that good and he used to criticize the team and front office publicly. In a Houston Chronicle article, journalists at the time recalled what the situation was like, saying that in 1992, there were serious questions about his commitment to being a team player, his attitude, and his leadership skills. Harvey Ayrton of the New York Times jokingly said that Hakeem was demanding a new contract every 5.7 seconds. That was the major issue at the time. Hakeem was the best center in the league, but he wasn't getting paid like one because the contract he signed early in his career did not allow for negotiations. He was still making only like $3 million a year while the salary cap continued to increase. After several attempts of trying to negotiate a new contract, he basically had enough. This caused Hakeem to demand a trade by the end of the 1992 season, and things only got worse from there. The owner of the team, Charlie Thomas, publicly said that Hakeem was faking an injury and he was sitting out games on purpose because he didn't like his current contract. Of course, this turned ugly very quickly as Hakeem fired back and said that was completely wrong and the Rockets management was wrongfully accusing him. Contract negotiations were a common problem back in the 1990s because as the salary cap continued to spike up, a lot of players' salaries fell behind and, they just didn't like that. They wanted more money. Anyway, on March 31st, 1992, he said, "I'm not coming back for them. It's for my teammates and the fans, but I would not like to play for the Rockets next season. It's so obvious after all that's happened. Would you like to work for a management like that say all these things? It's better for everybody to pack at the end of the season." Yeah, it was a huge mess. All of this stems from the contract issues, which, like I said, was a huge deal in the 90s. Other stars like Scottie Pippen also had problems with his contract because the salary cap was increasing drastically, but the older, long-term contract signed years ago did not reflect on the player's talent now. Basically, a lot of stars were severely underpaid. Anyway, according to Steve Patterson, the Rockets GM, he said at least half of the other 26 teams made offers for Hakeem. The closest trade was a trade to the Lakers for James Worthy, Vlade Divac, and Byron Scott, which was agreed upon but fell through due to new salary cap restrictions. Man, that would have been really interesting if the trade went through, but eventually a good trade was not found and the Rockets decided to keep Hakeem. He met with management and both of them settled their differences, for now. In the following season, 1992-93, Hakeem worked on his game and had the best season of his career up until then. He averaged a career-high 26 points per game, a career-high in assists with 3.5, and improved his free throw shooting as well. At this point, Hakeem was 30 years old, but this was when he truly became an MVP candidate. In 1993, he finished second in MVP voting right behind Charles Barkley. The Rockets finished the season with 55 wins. Unfortunately, there was not a happy ending. In Game 7 of the second round against the Seattle Supersonics, the Rockets had a chance to win the game at the buzzer, but they passed the ball to Hakeem in the post and he immediately got triple-teamed. So he kicked the ball out to Vernon Maxwell and he missed the game-winning shot. It was a devastating loss. It was unfortunate, but the Sonics always had their number. They were the only team the Rockets consistently struggled with. Of course, after this terrible loss, we all know what happened next. Hakeem and the Rockets would bounce back and he'd have two legendary seasons. Hakeem's 1993-94 season has a case to be the greatest season ever by an individual player. He won the MVP, the Defensive Player of the Year, and the Finals MVP all in the same season. Up until now, he's still the only player who has ever done that. On top of that, he was also first-team All-NBA and first-team All-Defense, and he used to play games while fasting for Ramadan. It was a season for the ages. That 1994 season was when everybody truly recognized Hakeem as a legend. After years and years of frustration and controversy in Houston, he finally put it all together and left his mark in this era. What's even crazier is that this was probably not even his most impressive season. The following year, 1995, the Rockets won the championship as the 6th seed in the Western Conference, going through a gauntlet of teams that won over 60 games or close to it. While individually, Hakeem was better in 1994, his 95 playoff run was way more impressive because nobody thought the Rockets would get back to the finals. During the twilight years of Hakeem's career, he finally got the contract he was looking for, now making over $10 million a year. The Rockets were unable to get back to the finals as the combination of age and injuries caused the team to slow down. The closest they got to going back was in 1997. The Rockets' quote, super team, well, it wasn't really a super team because everybody was too old by now. Regardless, they almost made the finals again, but John Stockton said no, not this time. And let's not talk about his final season in Toronto. Anyway, that sums it up. Hakeem Olajuwon has had quite the career. Hakeem saw the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. I wanted to make this video because many fans don't know about Hakeem's career outside of 94 and 95. Earlier in his career, he was a way different player, personality-wise and on the floor. At times, some would say he was selfish and did not like passing to his teammates. Which, well, I mean, considering his supporting cast, that probably made sense. But he wasn't deemed as a great teammate or locker room guy until his later years in the league, when he had a change of heart and winning solves everything. There was a ton of drama between him and the Rockets management, which I talked about earlier. His contract disputes never really ended. That's also why he did not play his final year in Houston. Anyway, that's all folks, that was the story of Hakeem Olajuwon's NBA career. Let me know your thoughts, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.